What I want to talk about today is the North American Plant Collection Consortium and some of the work that we're doing, the research, our plant collections, and I'm going to tie it all together with the conservation of oaks and public horticulture. So just a real brief history. The NAPCC is a part of the American Public Garden Association, the APGA. The APGA was founded in 1940, and I'm not sure how current these numbers are. I'd say they're pretty close. But there's about 580 institutional members, just under 9,000 individual members who work at member gardens. And the headquarters for the APGA is currently in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, real close to Longwood Gardens. The mission of the North American Plant Collection Consortium, it's a satellite arm of the APGA, and it was put into place to coordinate a continent-wide approach to plant germplasm preservation among public gardens, and also to promote professional standards of plant collection management. I like to give shout-outs when I do talks. Pam Allenstein is the chief coat and bottle washer for the NAPCC. She's also a counselor for us. She keeps us on the straight and narrow. I need to holler at Chris in the back, who also works with Pam. And without their guidance and their support, we couldn't do the work that we do. It's a very important part of what the APGA does. Brief history of the NAPCC. It was kind of kicked around in the late 80s, early 90s. Funding was sought in the mid-1990s. And around 1995, there was an agreement with the USDA to kind of get things going. 6 initial collections were kind of piloted and put on board. And about 2004, 2005, the APGA recognized the importance of NAPCC as a core program of what they do. So Recruiter Mentor Network was launched, where we train people to look at sites and the curatorial practices. And currently we are where we are with the society collaboration with NAPCC, and international coordinations were initiated. Some of the goals of what we're trying to do is, first and foremost, to build awareness of plant collections, how important they are and valued in the horticulture and conservation world. Second, and equally important, is to promote those good standards of excellence in plant collection management, kind of formalize and standardize those things throughout gardens across the country, and expand the diversity of plant collections. You know, we target existing NAPC collections and always looking to identify gaps for future collections around the country. Current snapshot of NAPCC, and again, I think these numbers are pretty close. There's about 64, maybe a few more participating public gardens, 60, give or take, single collections, and where we get the big bang for our buck is with these multi-site collections. Quercus is one of those. There's about 20 sites who are part of the multi-site Quercus collection. Acer Magnolia and Cycads was recently added. And to be in the NAPCC, there are certain criteria for participation. And this is where the mentor network comes in and the training that we do. The first is to be an institutional member of the APGA. You have to have an active collection management program, good plant record system, good labeling, good mapping. You have to have a long commitment to that collection. You don't want to put all those resources into something and then it gets developed into single-family homes down the road, or sold off or destroyed to replace with another collection. You want to have endorsement or backing by the governing body of your organization. The current collection that you're submitting needs to have about 50% or more of the ultimate collection scope, which means that you're kind of going in that direction already. Collection policy is very important. That gives you the guidelines for what you're doing. You have to have somebody employed that's taking care of that and focused on it. A curator and a curator staff would be nice. And there needs to be access to the collection for research, for evaluation of those plants, and potentially for some plant introductions. Once you go through those initial steps, there's an application and a review process that follows. There's a pre-application process. You fill that out, you submit the application. It's reviewed by the NAPCC manager and ultimately approved, hopefully. Then the manager will set up somebody to visit that site and set up a review. That's usually a peer that's been trained to evaluate and look at your site. That reviewer will write up a site evaluation with recommendations as to which direction to move with that collection, and ultimately the NAPCC manager will let that organization know that where their application stands. Basic parts of that application: there's the written form, you attach your collection policy, there's a letter of endorsement from the governing body, the director, or somebody at a higher level. All the conditions for those participations are signed. There's a current inventory attached to that, and qualifications of the staff that are governing and also taking care of the collection, and the all-important application fee. Within that application are some basic things. There's the form itself and the application information, the description of what your collection, the focus on what you're trying to do, your collection management practices, which are pretty important, the records that you have for those collections, existing and future goals of what you want to do, and having some curatorial group participation, and this mostly applies to the multi-sites like the oak and the maple and the magnolia. 3 types of applications. There's a single institution if you just want a certain genre of plants. There's the multi-site ones, and an addition to a multi-site. If you've got a great maple collection, a great oak collection, and want to join the multi-site, we were kicking around last night that it'd be nice to have a couple hundred oak collections in the multi-site oak group. All that documentation is crucial and important, and what makes all that hard work relevant. Having an electronic plant record-keeping system, I use BG-Base, there's a lot of other ones out there. Have an online searchable plant database would be nice, and that's become much easier to do. Combining those multi-site collection inventories and post it online so people can kind of see who has what and where those things are. The application site review reports are kept by Pam and staff, and they're confidential. And the APGA will highlight and feature your collection on their website and quarterly magazines, and occasionally there's an article in the magazine about a collection. The review, there's a pre-up, the recruiter and mentor network looks through all those things. There's the administrative side of that, then the peer site review and the written evaluation. All those things help move the process along. To keep the people that review these collections relevant and up to date, there's workshops that the NAPCC does. This is one that was done in Philadelphia a long time ago, and I just realized that's my shiny head in that top picture. This is really important to do to keep people up to date and looking for new recruiters to kind of help us spread the network and work across the country in different regions and zones. Once all those processes are done, you've got your application, it's been reviewed, these are the 3 potential recommendations that you'll go. Hopefully you get full status. If that's not the case, if there's a little bit of work left to do, you'll get provisional status, and that's kind of a good place to be because it keeps you kind of in the pipeline and keeps you moving along, and you can get help to fill in the gaps that you need to do to become an NAPCC collection holder. And occasionally, the information isn't current enough to be recommended and not at that time, and reapplication might be a part of that process. Lots of collaboration and kind of the bulk of what I want to talk about today, and the theme that's been ongoing with this group. I've been here since Sunday, and it's been nice to see that the networking potentials, and that's been kind of a theme throughout the conference in general. But these are some partners that we work with, collaborations that we have kind of ongoing, and we've mentioned a lot of these throughout the conference. Some current things that the O Group is working on. There's an annual meeting in Mexico. I believe that's next week, and there's some people here that are going to be attending that. But the Mexican oaks are an area where there's kind of a gap in the conservation and the collection, and one that we're really trying to focus on and get some more of those plants into the pipeline. There's been an ongoing collaboration with the USDA. Kevin Conrad, who's in here somewhere back in the back, has done a lot of great work with us, and we continue to move forward with that. And a newer one is this tree gene conservation partnership with the U.S. Forest Service. I think it's going to go on through 2017, but they're helping to fund and do some collection locally, nationally. We're doing one with the Morton Arboretum in a couple weeks. And all that collection diversity is very much reflected in the APGA membership garden diversity. There's woody plant collections, herbaceous, economic crops, native and exotics, all those things. And it's not just restricted to botanical gardens and arboreta. There's estate gardens that can be members. There are cemeteries, zoos, colleges and universities. And we really are starting to look at some of those for-profit corporations, cities, municipalities. I think there's room to expand into a lot of those areas to add to the diversity of the plants throughout our environments. The multi-site is where we get the biggest bang for our buck. It's the best approach if you've got a large taxonomic group that you want to include, high horticulture and economic significance, and the diversity to encourage that preservation across a wide range. These are I believe it's 20 of the multi-site oak collection groups, and it's a pretty good representation across the country, and there's a lot of folk in the room today that represent some of these. And some of the main goals that we're looking at is promoting the collaboration that we've been talking about throughout the conference, conserving that germplasm, supporting some collections, elevating the collection management standards, and supporting oak-related research and educating the public about what we do. Emily Griswold did this study. It seems like a short time ago, but I don't believe it was. Looking at the gaps in the oak group, and it's a pretty broad range. Hence the need for exploring down into Mexico. But these were some new collections that were added. Not too terribly in the past. I believe that's me up in North Carolina. Auburn is the one in Alabama. And we're looking at some folks in Texas and other parts of the country, but always looking to kind of fill in that pretty broad area to expand the diversity. A brief, short, kind of personal snapshot of the day in the life of a NAPCC holder. This is me in beautiful, blue-skied, sunny North Carolina. About 350 acres, 190 of that is core collection area. And currently we have 5 NAPCC collections. 3 of those are multi-site, 2 individuals, and we got a few more in the pipeline. Our Quercus holding, we've got about 546 total accessions of Quercus, and always looking to expand and add more. What we try to focus on with our oaks is, of course, diversity. We really are working hard to expand our wild collected species in oaks and all across the collections in our Arboretum. We look at urban tolerance because we are a tree care company, and also focusing on ones that do well in the southeast. I'm a big advocate for things that have multiple season of interest, and I think you get that in a lot of oak species as well. So that kind of extends through all of our collections. I'm very lucky to have a diagnostic lab where we can kind of troubleshoot and look at oak diseases because we represent a broad range of the country. We do a lot of urban research and how those trees respond and adapt to urban environments. And we've been doing a lot of planting trials as of late. This is a snapshot of one we did with red maple and willow oak on this one right here was a 15-gallon container right out of the pot in the ground. The other one was one where we really aggressively ripped up that root system. So we're looking at better ways to make those trees last longer kind of in the landscape. A lot of tree preservation work that we do to protect trees in urban environments. But it all kind of boils down to this. As I've gotten into my horticulture career, it's that the plant conservation and the important role that we play in public horticulture. We talked about this last night in a little focus group, but it's been a theme throughout this conference, and it's really nice to see increasing public and political awareness about the importance of conservation issues, sharing that information with other people, sharing that germplasm, support and potential reintroduction of wild populations and habitat restoration, long-term seed and tissue banking and sharing of that material, and keeping it funded and having resources to support all of that is very important. And finally, also kind of late in my career, I've kind of come to the plant collection side of things, but so crucial and important on an international and a local level is finding that that rare germplasm, getting it in people's hands to put in their gardens and add to these important collections. So what's next for the NAPCC and beyond? And I think a lot of those questions have been generated throughout the conference. How many folks here are from an NAPCC institute? There's a whole bunch of us. We travel in groups. It's safer that way. If you see any of us throughout the rest of the conference, corner us, talk to us about what we do. We look forward to that interaction, and hopefully we can do a lot more in the future. That's me. I'm in the brochure. If you want to get a hold of me, that's the best way.